Welcome to Political Paradigm, everyone. I'm Terry Ikumi, and today we turn our attention to improving elections in Nigeria, especially as we look forward to the Ondo State governorship election, which is less than 2 weeks away. Now, we understand that democracy cannot be complete or balanced without improvement in electoral processes. In fact, some say that the Electoral Act amendment is a good step in that direction. So let's talk about Nigeria and elections. We'll also take a look at what's happening in the United States and compare that to what we have here, considering that Nigeria sort of respects the democracy in the United States. I'm joined by the Chairman, House Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Adebayo Balogun. Honorable, welcome to Political Paradigm. You have to unmute yourself, Honorable. I think you're muted. Honorable, yeah, I think you're muted. Great. So as you do that, let's begin with welcome. Let's begin with what's happening in the United States, the elections. You've seen the processes leading up to the elections. You've followed the conversations as well. And unarguably, the United States elections or democracy is something that Nigeria sort of looks up to. So talk to me about what your thoughts are with regard to how the election process has been in the United States.
Well, once again, good afternoon. Well, we have to compare election in the United States and that of Nigeria. We can say we are operating the same style of the democracy, and we are not capitalist country, and running a presidential system. So, but let's look at build up from their primaries, because most of the problems we do have in Nigeria actually comes from the way we select or elect candidates at the party level, which is the primary elections. That's why we have more of pre-election matters at the tribunal than even the main election. So it's, their primaries is so seamless. And you see the way the candidates were nominated by their parties. There are never frictions, and I think the process actually is a system that has been perfected over time, and I think very soon we will be getting there, because we actually recognize that as a problem. That's why we want to ensure that the internal democracy within our parties must be improved upon, and that's why we are looking at the Section 84, which deals with that aspect of primaries within the party. Section 84 of the Electoral Act. We are seriously looking at that and see how we can also perfect our system, where there will no longer be any pre-election matters moving forward within our system. And if you look at some in their general election, the election started about a week ago now. It's early voting. People have started voting already. And can we do early voting in Nigeria? Do we have that trust already? Even the election on the main day, the one-day election, we still have a trust issue. Can we do early voting? I doubt. Because, yes, I was in South Africa during their election, and they had 2 days were set aside for early voting for people who will be on essential duties and all the rest. And for the first time, they also had issues in South Africa. The warehouses where they were keeping some of these votes were attempted to be burgled. And if you see in America too, drop boxes one was being, well, I have not yet confirmed, okay, but at least it was shown on CNN. For it to be shown on CNN, that means it was true that a drop box was burnt, and that means some people's votes have been burnt down. And these are part of the issues we used to have in Nigeria, and that means there is no country that can isolate itself from political undoings like such issues that we are saying now. Yeah. Nobody would have expected in America that you have people burning ballots. And this also started from when Trump tried to truncate a system that been working for them for so long. So it's more about people, but what they have in America, that they have a very strong institution that will resist anybody that want to make such attempt. And I think Trump was resisted even by his own vice president during the last election. So
Okay.
I think the major issue in Nigeria now, comparing the two, is the issue of trust.
Okay.
And we are looking at, apart from any voting, we talk about diaspora voting. In Nigeria, an average in Nigeria, it doesn't even have a name number. So, but in America, the first thing you get is your social security number. That's what shows that you are an American. You cannot do anything without it. But in Nigeria, we don't have it, and people want government to plan. And people want to get to vote in diaspora when they do not even have a means of identification. And we are talking about diaspora, it's not just about America and London. It's about all the West African countries, East African countries, very far countries. How do we want to ensure that we have polling units, we have INEC officials, we have party agents, because that's what the law says. All these people must be present in the polling unit. So what are we going to use? We are going to use as a polling center.
Honorable, I guess, let me come in here. Honorable, I guess this is where amendments come in to accommodate adjustments where necessary. I don't think that the United States that we learned from started off with this system. They had to improve on it. And I also like the fact that you drew attention to some of the concerns with regard to what we have and how it compares to that of the US. One of it is the ballot box situation. And recall that arrests have already been made with regard to that, which is sort of a little different from what we have here in Nigeria. So, but as we talk about this, let's stay with the US election. One of the things that has been commended with regard to the U.S. election, especially with the last election in 2020, is the turnouts. The report says that about 66% voter turnout was recorded in the last election in the U.S., and it was because it was the highest in over a century. And there are projections that this election will even surpass that. So we look at that system and question what encourages voter participation, and look at Nigeria's system and how we can improve on it. What would you say?
Yes, unfortunately, that's what we are saying now. Because of the way they manage their own data, you can get accurate information. But unfortunately, with what we have, even INEC data is not that reliable in terms of what you can call to be the authentic number of voters. Because we've been talking about this, we've been discussing with INEC on how to clean up its the data, repeated names. People transferred from one area to another, the names are still repeated. People have died, the names are still there. People who relocated. So these are the issues. So when you now talk about 30% turnout or 60% turnout, of what? Of the actual number of the bloated number. So in Nigeria, I can tell you for free, the last election, the 2023 election, has the highest turnout in terms of real people, because that was the first time we actually have an effective verification system. So the Beavers is actually the most effective verification system we've ever had. Prior to that, you have a place where 2,000 people are registered and you have just 100 people there, and they will cast the whole 2,000. But what we have now is that if you are just 200 there, it's only those 200 that can vote. This is the time we are now getting the actual number. What we'll be getting before bloated figures that are clean the authentic numbers that we have. Not many people who are registered in Nigeria and now the Japan, they are now in America and London, everywhere. But their names are still there.
But this situation. This obtains.
So we go by that comparative analysis you are talking about now, that 60% in America, 50% of the actual voters. But in our own case, we had about 30% turnout during the last election.
Honorable, Honorable, can you hear me? Let me come in here. You know, when you talk about voter register, the world over, this situation you're painting obtains. Because even in the US as well, people travel, people relocate, people die, and then they update it. So the problem perhaps is with the updating of the voters register. And as the National Assembly, you're chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters, it will to an extent be your responsibility to follow up on data cleanup and update of data. Perhaps you could speak to how you go about that. And if perhaps you think there should be an amendment to sort of any law that would discourage or affect the cleanup of the voter register as it is right now.
Yes, that's why I said, in getting that, we want to ensure that even the PVC now must have the NIN number in it, because that's one of the areas that you can be sure that you are able in Nigeria to register. Before you can have a PVC now, you must have your NIN number. That means we have to create a way where the NIN number will be included in all the existing PVC. So that is the only way you can ensure that there is no duplication, because you cannot duplicate the NIN number. So these are one of the areas we are working with NIMC, INEC, and population census. I mean the NPR, National Population Commission. So all these agents are working together to ensure that we upgrade from what they used to have to a better system where the NIN number will be included, even at party registration. And we must ensure that we deepen the NIN registration, because people are still finding it difficult to register, or some people claim that they are finding it difficult to register because we didn't really take this serious. Until we take our NIN number seriously, that is the basis to show that you are in Nigeria in the first place. So if you're able to do that, I'm sure the number will drop drastically.
Okay.
And even before we do the next population census, we must ensure that every Nigerian gets its own NIN number, because there is no sense in doing a census that you do not even have a social security number that shows that, yes, these people that we are counting are actually Nigerians. So it goes a long way to ensure that we can get this. It is when you have this NIN number inbuilt in your electoral process, that's when you can now start talking about diaspora voting, because you will know that those who want to vote outside there are actually Nigerians.
All right, great. I think this is where technology comes in, and it raises a question as to how effective our introduction of technology into our electoral process has been, because technology has really aided early voting in the US. Perhaps you could talk about technology and the electoral process in Nigeria. Recall that the BVAS was considered to be a game changer. Somehow, it's been questioned at this point. So talk about technology and Nigeria's voting system from the standpoint of a member of the House of Representatives who would be looking at electoral reforms as soon as possible.
Yes, I'm happy you accepted that, yes, the BVAS has been the game changer. And that is the most important part of the electoral process, the accreditation system. That is the only way you can make sure that it is one man, one vote. Then we now start talking about transmission. How do we move the results from one end to another? And we should also be careful with the type of technology we deploy. Technology that can be hacked should be avoided. So once what we intend to do, what the law says is, once you finish all the collation of the result at the unit, it will be snapped and uploaded on the RF. So that would be like a backup storage. But every party has its own results, and the security officer too will have a copy of the results. Every party is expected to go to their own situation room to start collating all their results. And by the time the INEC result finally comes out, if you feel there's a mismatch somewhere, if you have disagreement with any part of this result, all you need to do is to check through your own and look at where the result actually changed. It must be from one unit. Every result starts from the unit.
But that would mean
if you find out from the last election, hardly the people go to court to challenge the results of the election. Most of the petitions were on pre-election matters and qualification of the candidates.
But that would mean that the law would be amended to make it compulsory and mandatory for the results on the IRF portal to be the official results. Wouldn't it mean that?
No, the IRF, you see, that's even the most dangerous part of it. If that becomes act and wrong results are now posted by the hackers, then you have.
But how do you now compare what you what you say the political parties have, taking a picture of with what INEC has announced, if you cannot have it on the IRF so that the rest of Nigerians can as well see it?
Saying, you have a copy of each result. Every party has a copy of each result with them. So if you feel any results got changed, what you need to do is petition with the copy of the original result you have with you.
But what so are you saying?
When you collect at the ward level 2, you have a copy each. So and when you get to the state level, you still have another copy of the collated numbers.
Well, you see, Honorable, these are some of the complaints from political parties, that in the midst of all these, despite what the IRF says, what INEC announces at some point is different from what even they have. And then they question it, and then you hear statements like, just a second, Honorable.
So let me explain this to you. Let me explain to you. IRF is a platform that INEC is just using as a backup, probably to check this. But what we find out is most of these results too, because if it is act and a wrong result is posted, you cannot take IRF on its own.
So that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking if you are against
go to court with your own copy.
If you are against making. So I'm asking you is if it's because it's not law. It's not compulsory. It's not in the law to say that the IRF must. It's a guideline. INEC is allowed to employ that as a method of transmitting results. But the concerns.
Excuse me. You see, if you put that as a law, then you have complicated the whole issue.
Explain this complication.
If I hack into the IRF, then it is that result you must take.
So your fear is that IRF could be hacked?
As a political party, leave IRF apart. Let's talk about the system as it is for now. You have a copy of your own results as a party A, party B as a result, given by INEC at every polling unit. You now go to the ward level. It's also collated at those levels. You have a copy of the collated one at the ward level. If there's any issue, as by the time you collect the final result, if there's any issue, you have to go and look at where each part of the either it's at the ward level or the unit level that the report came from. Then you have to do your own tabulation, bring it to INEC. These are things you do within the 7 days window.
Okay,
7 days
Honorable,
window. You have to complain at INEC office.
Let us simplify this.
So be able to convince the electoral officer that at booth unit A3, my party scored 350, and by the time we look at what you collated at the ward level, you find out that it was 200 that was given to my party, and you bring your results given to you at that unit. It will be corrected.
Corrected at what level? If you bring it to where and corrected at what level?
At the unit, at the local government level, because after the election, after the even announcement of the results, you still have a 7-day window for you to petition at your
I remember, Honorable, I remember that some reports from the elections, especially perhaps this the Edo State election, the situation, the civil society organizations that monitored that observed some discrepancies in the results on the IRF and that of what was announced on that day. And so I'm asking you to understand if your main fear is just about perhaps the complications that may happen or could happen at that level. I agree. Let me just land. Honorable, let me land on this. Let me land. We're looking at how technology can be improved. We're looking at how technology, in the US, technology has made it easy for them to have voting points in different states. I know. I'm just, are you not open to improvement? We're trying to compare.
We are not in the US and our technology is...
So in your opinion, what improvements could be made to technology such that we don't have to wait for hours for results to be flown by road, to be flown by air or taken by road for many days before final results, especially in presidential elections, would be announced?
It's not like that in the US you are talking about. Even in the US you are talking about, results are collated, then now sent
Inputted
to
into
the
a system.
next
Absolutely.
level of collation. What you see at the end of the day, being shown on CNN and all this stuff, are final collation of every unit, every center. It's the final collation that they are now posting. It is not that they are now, as you are counting, it's being added. No, it's not done that way. Even in America, anyway. I was in South Africa during the last election.
So what is the technological alternative to flying results or moving them by road? That's what I'm asking. Honorable, what is the alternative to waiting days for results to come all the way from maybe Kano?
What I'm saying, even in America, do you know how long it takes for the final result to be announced? It doesn't come immediately. You see, there are some things that we have to believe that a process that we must follow. It doesn't. Our results at the end of the day just takes the second day. Most of our results are ready in Nigeria. Only that officially it takes more time. But at the end of within 24 hours, every party has collated its own results. A party that wins knows he has won. A party that lost knows it has lost. So, but officially, it will go from local government to from ward level to local government to state level, and then now collect at the national level. You know, within between these levels, the assembly in some local government is just maybe one local government per assembly, and maybe in some area it will be two. In like in Lagos State, we have 2 assemblies per local government, and we have 1 or 2 senatorial seats per local. I mean, House of Rep seats per local government. So as we are moving, the result of those levels will be declared. The House of Assembly result will be declared first. Then you move to the rep. The rep result will be declared. Then you move to senatorial, because senatorial has more local government under it. You now declare the result of the senatorial. Then the presidential will now be declared last.
Okay. Honorable,
so all this result has been announced, and if you know, in Nigeria, the result of the last one came out by the evening of Sunday. We already know the result by the evening of Sunday.
So the concern for many, the concern for many at the time, despite how quickly or otherwise these results will come in, is that as advanced by some participants in the elections, is that in between results are changed. So I'm trying to get your understanding.
The results are changed. That's what we are saying. It's not just for you to claim.
Fair enough.
Let them come with the results that change. Let them show you their own results. This is our results. Let them show the result they got from their units. Let them show them, and let them show you where the result changed. That's why most of them cannot get anything from court. They were just making noise.
Okay, so let me ask you a general question with regard to technology, so that we can walk away from this talk about technology. Are you satisfied with the technology as it is right now, or what sort of improvements?
We are not talking technology. What do we want? We said, I've just said some things now, that for us to start doing diaspora voting, doing any voting, first of all, we must ensure that everybody has a name number. Because when you're talking about technology is based on some background that must happen. If you don't have information, you don't have anything about you, you can't give anything to you. Computer is just garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have identity, it's a unique number. If you have your unique number, that's your unique number that shows that this person is so. So we must start from there. If we have that, that will lead to so many other things. Yes, we've been able to do the accreditation now. Accreditation, like I said, is the most important aspect of election.
So
if you want to achieve a one-man, one vote, you must achieve accreditation. We've achieved that one now. Now we are talking about transmission. Yes, what we have as of today, the backup is the RF. If RF is tampered with, which can be done by hacking, that was why INEC had to stop it during the last election. They had dozens of attempts to penetrate into the RF. And once you have such, you have to leave it. You know how many people that loses money in Nigeria today by these boys hacking into their accounts? You know how many emails are being hacked into? Even our WhatsApp.
But does it not bother you? But does it not bother you that is our concern? Instead of looking for a way for watertight security to our technology, does this mean that we cannot advance in technology with regard to how we do elections? But most important, Honorable, just 1 second, let me land. When we talk about technology, you pride in the beavers. Yes, many call it a game changer.
Yeah.
But we've seen elections where the beavers wasn't used. So are you saying now that with this NIN option that you've talked about, that all accreditation on election day must be done with the NIN? With the NIN? No, you've brought in the NIN option now.
Yes.
So all must be done with the NIN now. So it's a proposal. So talk about that.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, because part of the issues, because some people are saying they do have internet penetration within their area. But some of us say, as long as you can register for your PVC, internet was used. So for you to even register for your PVC, the most important part is to be a Nigerian first. And to be a Nigerian, you must have your NIN number. So if you can register for PVC, you should be able to register for your NIN number. So because these are not what we can just say you impose on people, we have to discuss it. You have to make it a law. It must go through public hearing, and people must support. And if the people who are against it are more than people who are supporting it, it will never fly. So there will be a lot of advocacy on this issue. We must talk to people. We must let people understand that to have your NIN number is very, very important to you, because it's only elections are supposed to be participated in by Nigerians alone. And it's sure that we do have an identification number. That means anybody can even claim to be a Nigerian and just go and register as a voter and vote and even be voted for.
All right.
So this is not my function, as this is not INEC function.
Okay.
We have to work in collaboration with NIMSI. And NIMSI will have to bring its own case. Do they have penetration? And we will discuss with the NIMSI boss, and they claim that they can do it. But most of the time that people don't really turn out. That is more about the people now. How do we encourage people to turn out to ensure that everybody has a NIMSI?
Okay.
You know, with the NIN number, even with the telecommunication system some few weeks ago, when they were told that if you have not added your NIN number to your telephone line, that all their lines will be cut off. People went and wanted to destroy most of these telecommunication offices.
Okay.
So these are the issues.
So hopefully,
not until government make a law for restricting us from a service that will now take what's supposed to be important to us. NIN number must be the most important thing to any Nigerian today.
So hopefully this does not require a fresh registration for voters.
No,
and,
you can do that. It can be included, and that can be done by you. Just like when you want to transfer your card, your PVC from one place to another, you don't need to go to INEC office.
Beautiful.
You can just do it online.
All right.
So it will be redesigned in a way that it will just give you that line to just add, and you add it to it, and it will migrate. So these are part of the issue when you're talking about technology. We have to look at how can we adapt it to what we have. So they are already looking into it. So between NIMSI and INEC to see how that could be achieved.
But how feasible is this just before the elections? I think in 1 year, next year or thereabout, election conversations will begin. How quickly?
Technology, it's not just not the technology that is the problem. It's for people. You know how long we'll be talking about people to go and have their NIN number and even add it to their phone lines? People have not even done it up to today. We've been talking about this for over 5 years.
Okay.
I don't think we should be running after people to go and register to be a Nigerian.
I understand.
So
I understand that aspect.
It's not just about the law. It's about us. It's about how we want this thing to work. Okay, let's say independent candidacy, for example. Yes, you can say, you can put the law that, okay, let's introduce independent candidacy. The next election, you'll be surprised to have 2,000 people contesting for the presidency, and 1,000, 2,000, another 2,000, 1,000 contesting for the governor. What kind of ballot paper are you going to use for that? But we must know as Nigerians that even when we create a law, it's not that we should abuse it. It's not that for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to now start coming out to contest, say because it's that okay now we now have independent candidacy, so everybody must now contest. Even with the party system, we see how everybody leaving their party.
But that's where processes.
That the register of INEC is submitted to the voters register is submitted to INEC. So, the party register.
Okay. I was going to say that's where processes come in, such that you build the right process for this law on independent candidacy, so that you just don't have anyone coming for it. If you put certain caveats or restrictions, perhaps, because I also know that those who advocate for women inclusion in governance and politics say that independent candidacy could be a way forward.
Well, it's not just about saying we look at our workability. I've just told you now. If you say, okay, independent candidates should be introduced, how do you now control the number of people that will apply?
But that's where you come in. That's where you come in as a lawmaker, and that's where public engagement comes in. I mean, so that you get submissions and then factor that into consideration.
We are going for the public hearing very soon. We are already collating all our issues together, all the areas that we are amending together. Then we'll take it to public hearing. People, and what we want to do, we want to really involve the people this time around. We are going to go with questionnaires. We want to make sure that by the time we go for the public hearing, we'll visit nothing less than 2/3 states of the Federation. At this minimum of 24 states must be visited. And the questionnaires will be distributed online, divided within box of life, and then it will now be collated. And the result will be analyzed, so that people will now have a feel that yes, we did this together. It is very important.
All right.
Inclusion really matters. We want people to really comply. Inclusion will make a difference.
All right, Honorable, just a second. We've now been joined by Mr. Bukola Idowu, who is the Executive Director of Kimpact Development Initiative. He's currently in the United States observing the elections there. So we started off the conversation. Mr. Idowu, welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you for having me.
Well, for a split second, I thought you got lost in covering and observing that election. But we started off this conversation trying to compare the United States election and that of Nigeria. We understand that the democracies are quite far apart, but it's a model that Nigeria copies. So since you're monitoring the election, could you talk to us about what you observed so far with regard to the processes leading to the main day of the election?
Well, I think, like you rightly said, though we have a lot of things to learn from this election in the US, at the same time, I also feel that Nigeria have a lot of peculiarity that we should sustain in our own elections here in Nigeria, because there are some good things I have seen in Nigeria that when you compare it with what we have here, I think it's better we sustain that. But let me start with some of the things in terms of the processes. We've been able to observe the early voting, and then we find out that is one area that if the laws in Nigeria, the legal framework in Nigeria, we allow that, and then we put a lot of things in place, that would be very good. When I say very good, because this has a way of decongesting the entire queue on election day, because people have voted 3 days, 4 days, 5 days ago, and over 6 million people, let me just be conservative, over 6 million people have voted already, so which means that today, which happened to be the final day, most people have to, we just come out and then be able to come out and vote. But again, we look at the statistics of the last election, where like 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 about 45% of the people voted before in early voting. And that is very commendable. So, which means you have less pressure on election day. The second thing for Nigeria that I think this will benefit us, we will be able to learn that Nigeria have close to 4 million people who are disenfranchised on election day. Who are these people? The military, the police, the election officials, the election officials themselves, the observers themselves. A whole lot of people on essential duty on election day. Most doctors on duties are not going to vote on election day because you have them in the hospital, and then in terms of transportation they won't be able to do that. So that's one area that we think we should be able to learn. And again, one thing I have seen here which also may not work. This is I don't see, and this is the peculiarity of the US election. Now, like different states have different laws for their elections, and so it is not like a general. How will I put it? It's not like a general legislation that all of them are working with. So, for instance, in some states, this early voting is not allowed. And for instance, I have been monitoring the District of Columbia in DC here, and I find out that this early voting is allowed. And again, in some other places, early voting, in some other states, early voting is not allowed. So they have this a way of decentralizing the entire election. But if you look at Nigeria election is more centralized, just the same way our democracy, our federalism is the same way our own election is. But here, it is the states that conduct this election, and then you don't even have a central, how will I put it, the central body announcing the election. You know, in Nigeria, we still have a lot of ceremony around collation and announcing the election, you see. So, but here, the whole process is decentralized, and it's also reduced cost at the national level because each state just manage this election.
Okay.
Then again, one good thing I have also seen here is that for instance, in some states, you have, even on the election day, you can come in and register and vote if you have not been registered, and then you feel like, oh, I need to vote in this election. All they need to do is to look for your proof of ID and then proof of residence, where you live, and they say, oh, fine, and then you look at the age, and then you register, and straight away you go and vote. So these are key good things, and because if you look at our election, the turnout has been reducing, and the Nigerian population are mostly young people.
Yes.
So there is a need for us to find a means of making it, centralizing it, so that it can encourage more people to come out and vote.
That's a very good place to come in, because I had drawn Mr. Honorable Balogun's attention to the improvements in the voter turnout for the US election. Some attributed to early voting, just as you've mentioned. But Honorable Balogun has some concerns with technology and early voting. Perhaps you could speak to how the US has been able to sustain early voting using technology, despite the concerns around hackers. And then most importantly, speak to the US citizens who have had to vote from outside the country.
So I think with what I have seen here, these are like about three phases, three layers at which you can have this election. Number one is either you vote by mail. You know, you can post your vote, get your ballot paper, and then you post it. So if that we like to work in Nigeria, then we have to see how we rejig our NIPOS. But let's leave that, which I think may not really be what the line we want to toll. But you have that option here. So if I can't leave my house and I can't live anywhere, I can post. So those people are not, are not disenfranchised. Then the number two is the early voting. You can walk in after your office hour, pick a day, go and vote. Now, the issue here is with the demonstration we have seen and the election officials have taken us through. I don't see anything that talks about anybody hacking this election. See, let me tell you, the issue with election and with what I have also seen in the US is about trust. Until Nigerians trust the system, no matter the technology you bring in, we are likely going to have an issue. So how do we build this trust is the key thing. So I give you an example. Now, nobody, of the polling unit I have seen, I didn't see any party agent. Interestingly, you couldn't see any party agent. So which means the people trust the process. In Nigeria, why do you have party agents? So that they can monitor and tailor your party vote in case anything will happen to it. So this is a culture that we need to change as Nigerians.
Okay.
We have to trust both from the institutional level and then from the demand side, which is the citizen, and which is very key. But again, let me quickly mention this aspect of the electronic voting that I have seen in the US here. See, there are options. Two major ways of electronic voting I have seen here. Number one is this. You go to the machine to vote. The machine still prints out a ballot paper for you. You take the ballot paper and go and drop it in the box. That is one in one state. That is what some people are using in other states. So the entire process is not electronic from the start to the finish. So it's just like you go to the, you want to use POS or you want to use ATM, and then you press this, and then the ATM give you the receipt, what you voted for. Then when it gives you, you go to the ballot box, you put it there. So the machine have how will I put it? Have the memory to say, look, this is it, and then they cross-check with the ballot paper itself.
Okay.
The other one is you don't even use the machine at all. The same thing in the same polling unit. So if you have the option, if you want to use the machine, go and use the machine. If you don't want to use the machine at all, take the ballot paper, then cast your vote instantly. So, and at the end of the day, they count everything and send to the central collating area, and which is very commendable. At the end of the day, you begin to hear, oh, this man has won in DC, this one has won in Pennsylvania, and that is how, at the end of the day, they aggregate the whole thing. But if you ask me, Terry, what I have seen is we need to do a lot around trust. And if you look at our election, go and look at our election since after 2023, the trust dwindling. All the 4 elections we've had, Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa, and Edo, the turnout compared to the last election has been nosediving. So which means there is something around. And I'm happy the chairman is here. How we are able to build this trust back will be around legislation. And we need to see how we build back around legislation to be able to more people participate.
Beautiful. So I'm going to bring in Honorable Adeba. I'm bringing you in. Just 1 second. I want to bring.
Can I ask you something?
All right, please go ahead then.
Yeah, we've been working together on these issues, and I'm happy you were talking about the trust, and that's what I've been telling Terry. Look, it's not just about the laws. It's not that the issue is today. If we decide to do any voting, that means people will vote, let's say even 2 days, 3 days before the election. Where are we going to keep it? Where are they going to vote? Who will be the custodian of those ballots within those days before it will be counted? Because it will not be counted. When they do any voting, they don't count it. They won't count it after they've counted the main ballots done on the main day. So if you do any voting in Nigeria today and INEC keeps it in a warehouse, and at the end of the day, maybe party A was now leading. By the time they now bring out those early votes, party B now won. What do you think the result, the situation will become in Nigeria?
So,
that we have.
So, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. And these are the concerns. You've raised the concern. And I think what we need to do, because these are concerns, like I said, the issue of trust is there. I agreed. I mean, it's there. But the truth here is this: we also need to find a means of how we can improve the process. So we cannot say because we have this trust issue, we should not be able to improve the process. Those are the questions, and I also feel that legislation can take care. For instance, legislation says, hey, if you vote early voting 3 days to the election, this is where the thing should be kept, and we put legislation and procedures in place. Anything outside that, then you have an issue with that. We know that you have flouted the law, and so it is either, oh, that particular place is cancelled, whatever. But I think it may not be, and it may not be that we deploy this kind of system at the national level, I feel we can begin to test run this system with some of the off-cycle election we have, and then we begin to perfect it on the long run. And for instance, you look at how we started with smart card reader, and then we moved to beavers today. We didn't jump from smart card reader to beavers on the same day. So, and I think these are the issues. So for instance, now we have issues with IREF. I mean, when we started, but it has been improved on. When you look at Edo, most of the 90% of the results were uploaded on IREF just before. So we can always improve this, Honorable, if you ask me. Though the trust,
that's what I was
but we can always.
No, Honorable.
It's not what just a hook, line, and sinker. It's a process.
Well, you must be, but you must be open to technology. That's what I'm asking you.
No,
One of the concerns you raised. One of the concerns you raised. One of the concerns you raised with regard to honorable. One second. One of the concerns you raised with regard to early voting is where will these ballots be kept? Are you saying that we don't have the security to hold those ballots?
There is a trust matter. Hello, it's not that. You see, even the more security it becomes, then the more the people will doubt the result. Because if I keep it in a warehouse, you now have to prove to the people that nothing happened behind the door. That is the issue. These are the trust issues that we have. So now that's why we are saying that during the next amendment, during this amendment that we are working on, we are going to have an intensive public hearing. We have
all right,
pros and cons will be debated.
So one other thing that
technology, the pros and cons will be debated. Then people will decide on which one they want. So whenever you take it, you know the problems attached to whatever system you pick. So no system is free of issues.
All right, but quickly now.
Whatever we pick, we will know that yes, this is what we want to work on. Then we'll look at all the problems. Then we'll find a way of mitigating against some of these issues. But we are going to support this. But what I'm just saying now is that don't pick anything, and because you feel it is secured, it's so secured. There's no system that does not have its own problem. And in the area of some of these inclusion too, let me take this one. In the area of inclusion, one of the areas that we've decided to include, and which is very easy, is on the issue of the correctional centers, because thousands of people have been denied their franchise.
Essential workers as well, just as Mr. Ido put it. Essential workers.
Because in South Africa, they allow people who are in concessional centers to vote. People are on essential services. How do we also include them? How do we create a system? What is done in Liberia is that if you are registered, you are registered in Ipaja, but you are taken to Lagos Island on an essential service, you will be able to vote for the governor and the president in that area, but you will not be able to vote for the reps and the assembly, because where you are voting, the reps does not cover that place. So these are the areas we are already looking at. There will be lots of issues coming.
Well, there's something else. There's something else. Honorable, there's something else.
Coming first quarter of next year.
Beautiful. Honorable Adeboye, there's something else that Mr. Ido raised, which I think you should address, mainly because you're the chairman of the Electoral Committee in the House, so you would receive some of these submissions. He talked about the continuous voter registration in the US, where if I decide elections are in 2 days and I decide that I now have made a decision to vote, I should be able to go ahead and register and vote. Is that a consideration that you think that we should adopt as a country? Because it's also been complained about in the processes of our elections so far.
You see, that's what we are saying. In America, they're talking about, they know you exist because you have a social security number. They know you have reached the age of 18, even if you don't go there. The system already knows. It's just for you to go and formalize it. Once you are 18, you have an address. Unless you change your address, you'll be registered in that polling unit already. So only when you go there now, you just formalize, I want to come and vote. And these are part of the issues. But once you are not, you don't have a social security number, you don't have a fixed address, these are part of the things that enhance planning in their own area. So if you're able to adopt some of these things, so it becomes very easy for us. And in Nigeria, you use printed ballot papers. So you must be sure of the number of people that are going to vote. That's why we have a ceiling. You have to have registered within so number of days to the election, so that they will know the number of ballot papers to print. Some of us are advocating the use of voting machine, where you do have printed ballot papers. It will just print for you, like what Idowu just described in some states. You go there, you put your biometrics, it will do even your accreditation together, and it shows you the parties, you press which party you want, and it gives you your own receipt to get your copy of the party voted for. You now go and drop it into the box. With that, you don't need to have a pre-printed ballot paper.
All right, well, gentlemen,
I don't know if I can come in here.
Okay, briefly, because I want to move the conversation to something else.
I think this issue is one area that we need to really address. And I think in the next amendment, we have to look at it, because the name, as the name implies, is continuous voter registration. But what we are doing in Nigeria is periodic voter registration. We should not be. So for instance, and I keep asking a question, for instance, in my state at the moment, Osun State, you know, you are not having election as at the moment. Why? What is the INEC doing at the local government level, at the 30 local government in that place, that they should not be able to walk in, that citizens should not be able to walk in and register? Why must we now? Osun election will be coming maybe 2026, and then we will now create 3 months space and say people must register within these 3 months. No, it is continuous voters registration.
That's and it should be.
And that is
what the law says.
But Honorable, you know that what we are doing is periodic voter registration. Yes, and that is one area we need to look and enforce the law.
This with INEC. Unfortunately, because of their budget size this time around, it became an issue. The budget size would not
Honorable, another thing that have encouraged voter turnout here. Honorable, another thing that have encouraged voter turnout here is another thing that have encouraged voter turnout here, Honorable, is that look, they don't have PVC here. And I think Nigerians, for us in Nigeria, we should look deeply into the aspect of this PVC. Because you don't have PVC, you are not likely going to vote. But look at it, Honorable. Let's look at what Beavers does today. Beavers doesn't read PVC. So, for instance, if I put my name, thank you very much. Because that has really limited some people.
Honorable, Mr. Idowu, he had brought in something about the NIN, where he said that there's an amendment being considered right now to inculcate the NIN into the process, and that this would help. So I don't know if that sort of answers your question, but I want us to move away from this and look at electoral reforms with regard to the electoral umpire. I know that both of you have hammered on trust, but the concern for many Nigerians is with the leadership of the of INEC, and some say that the president should not appoint the INEC chairman, that provision should be scrapped in the books, so that the INEC chairman could come from perhaps the judiciary, or nominations from the judiciary, or just independent of a politician per se, just as the president is. Can I get your reactions to it? Let me quickly take Mr. Idowu, then I take Honorable Deboy on that.
I think this is spot on. We need to really look deeply into this appointment into the election management body. And I tell you now, the issue around election management body, the moment, and that is what most Nigerians have issues with, and when it comes to this trust issue, do Nigerians really trust INEC? That is the question. And what is the issue here? Is because there have been allegation of, most of the people that are appointed there are partisan. But of course, some people are just saying, and they don't even have proof, but some people, we have also seen, nominations that are clearly partisan. And I'm happy the one we can all point out was that the Loretta Onoche the other time that didn't even skate through. But that gives you what it shows that, look, people that are partisan can be appointed. And if the National Assembly did not do their work, probably she would have been a national commissioner today. And that now brings the question on how do we how do we make appointment into the election management body? So, but the truth of the matter is this. We need to look at a balanced view.
Mr. Ido, we're almost out of time. Please permit me. Let me quickly bring in Honorable Adebayo so that we can wrap this up. Honorable.
You see, like we just said, our problem has just been trust matter, issues, trusting ourselves. But I still cite the example of Jega and Jonathan. Jonathan appointed Professor Jega, and Jonathan lost the election. Ashwaju didn't appoint Yakubu, and Ashwaju won the election. So it is about the system. No electoral leader, no electoral commissioner, no rec, not even the EU is involved in the election on that election day. All the people that are involved in the election are ad hoc staff, mostly youth corpers. All the POs used on the election day, all the people outside of the election day are ad hoc staff. So there is no INEC official that is involved directly with the election on the election day. And once you have your men right there on the polling units, your agents, if your agents are not competent, it will be very difficult.
But Honorable, sorry, I have to cut in here because we're almost out of time. I want to quickly take you up on that. Are you saying that you are averse to those who say that the political class should not appoint the INEC chairman? Because some have seen it as a problem. Are you saying there is no problem with that?
What I'm saying, we must use the system. And whichever system you use in appointing the INEC chairman, are still Nigerians.
But
so,
you know,
Terry, I think just one word to say is that it is not only. I think I can see we are hammering on.
What method do you think we can use?
I had just told you that there are those who believe that the judiciary should appoint, the judiciary could nominate for the appointment of the INEC chairman. You don't think that's an option, do you?
The judiciary?
Yes.
To appoint the INEC chairman?
Nominate. That there should be nominations for the position.
Judge?
Or members of the public, should apply who believe they are qualified for it, and then they go through the process. These are some of the things that have been canvassed.
The issue is it's about the law. The CSOs can provide so many other options.
Okay.
Bring the law, bring a proposal to the National Assembly. It will go for public hearing.
Okay.
You see, we are not supposed to be the one moving most of these laws.
Very true.
National Assembly.
All right.
You are not supposed to be one initiating every law. It's supposed to be initiated by the users.
Yeah, Honorable. Sadly, I won't. We may not be, gentlemen. I think our time.
30 seconds.
You don't even have 30 seconds, maybe. But I'd like to thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
The truth is, Honorable, you don't have 30 seconds either. You don't have 30 seconds either. But I thank you both for coming on Political Paradigm. Honorable Adebayo Balogun is the Chairman, House Committee on Electoral Matters. Thank you for your time, Honorable.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Bukola Idowu is Executive Director of Kimpact Development Initiative. Thank you very much for your time as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have on Political Paradigm today. Remember, you can catch this episode and previous ones by simply searching YouTube, Political Paradigm, or go to channelstv.com. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.